This interview was recorded live at the 2024 Native Arts Festival. Buffie Schmidt is a Northern Pomo language teacher and basket weaver. She shares her thoughts on teaching the Northern Pomo language, learning Pomo basket weaving from her mother, and steps we can take to heal our land. We hope you enjoy this interview and find it as empowering as we did. Stay tuned into the Boxcar Joe Show. Like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. We all have a story. What's yours?
All right, so we are live at the Native American Cultural and Arts event here in the town of Windsor, and I am with Buffie Schmidt, and I'm going to let her go ahead and introduce herself. Go ahead, Buffie. Let us know who you are, what you do, and the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Joe. My name is Buffie Schmidt, and I'm a Pomo woman from Sherwood Valley, and I would like to offer my introduction in my language. Mata, Amita, Mato, Ana, Shibaldano, Potma, Noyo, Na, Yokeo, Ke, Ana, Ame E, Thomas Campbell Sr., Na, Shibaldano, Potma, Na, Noyo, Ke, Mona, Amate, Christine Hamilton, Na, Yokeo, Rancheria, Ke, Mana. And what I said was my Indian name, which I never give out. I mean, if you could figure it out, that's good. Good on you. And then I also traditionally say where I'm from, who my father is and where he's from, who my mother is and where she's from. So I'm the Ukiah High School Northern Pomo language teacher. I'm in my 4th year, and it's been an honor and a blessing to be part of revitalization of our language. It's been amazing. I can't believe that. It's me who's actually doing that. I spent a lot of time with my mom 10 years ago before she passed away, trying to learn as much as I could from her. Mm-hmm. She had been sick for a while.
Is she the one who initially started introducing you to your native language, like taught you?
Yeah, she spoke Central Pomo. She's Central Pomo, and what I teach is Northern Pomo. The Northern Territory includes Sherwood Valley, Noyo, Redwood Valley, Coyote Valley, Pinoleville, and other bands in that area. Central Pomo is Hopland, Yokeo, and Manchester, Point Arena. So she was, her mentor was Cynthia Daniels from Hopland Rancheria. Mm-hmm. And my mom also taught at the Head Start in Pinoleville. And she's taught the 4 and 5 year olds, maybe as young as 3. Wow. And they started teaching the kids Northern Pomo and Central Pomo. But really progressed to being Northern Pomo. So she has some notes and some books and some teaching materials that I inherited when she passed away after, cleaning her house and everything. Mm-hmm. But before that, we were trying to learn as, sit and learn as I was trying to learn as much as I could before she passed away. But that also included basket weaving too.
Before we get to the basket weaving, I wanted to ask you, so how different are the dialects from Northern Pomo, Central Pomo? Is there a huge difference in terms of pronunciation of words, or is it kind of relatively similar? How diverse, how different are the different dialects of Pomo language?
I would say they're pretty different. A lot of the words are different. There's a few words that travel from band to band, like the word for dog is pretty common, hayu. Maybe water sounds very similar. In Northern Pomo, we say ha, and in Lake County area, they say ha. So it's just a subtle difference,
right.
Ha and ha.
So I know I'm Mishawakapo from Alexander Valley, and I know a handful of words, right, that I heard from my grandmother, who, thank God, is still alive. And so blanket in our language is tekma. Mm-hmm. Is that familiar? Is that the same as Pomo, or do they have a whole different word for blanket?
Well, the class that I'm teaching is Northern Pomo language, and the word for blanket or fabric or cloth is a borrowed word from Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Because there weren't blankets per se. There were probably, I think 200 years ago, people weren't covering themselves with a cotton blanket or a wool blanket. They were probably covering themselves with fur.
Right.
Or maybe a tule mat or something woven.
Right.
So the Northern Pomo word I know for fabric is tadapo, but which is a Spanish borrowed word.
Got you.
Yeah, so some of the words that we know are borrowed from Spanish, and some of the words that it's really cool. We get to make them up in the classroom because there's some words don't have a word in Northern Pomo because 200 years ago that thing might not have existed.
Right.
Yeah, so
I got
it's
a
kind
quote.
of fun.
I got a quote here, Buffy. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I really want to get your thoughts on this. And this is from Nelson Mandela, and it says, "If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his own language, that goes to his heart."
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think what you're doing is significant and important and reconnects our younger people and people in general to who they are as a people. You know, I think more so now than ever, we need to be reminded of who we are and where we came from. And just in the little time we've spent together, I've already learned something. So Dakma in my language probably is a relatively new word because, you know, we probably covered ourselves similarly with, you know, fur or woven tules or what have you. So that's interesting. That's very fascinating to me. I know a couple other words that I heard, but I'm not going to repeat them.
That's one thing I don't do. I don't teach my students bad words.
Yeah.
They some of them want to learn that, but I'm like, you're on your own there.
Yeah. So you mentioned basket weaving.
Yeah, my mom sat me down when I was 13, and of course I'm like any other teenager, rebellious, and you know, the boss, and know too much maybe. So she tried to teach me when I was 13. I remember her and I getting into some kind of argument, and I remember telling her I don't want to learn how to make a basket, and that probably hurt her, but I never finished the basket she started to teach me. And I was 13 years old, and but meanwhile, she was doing that off and on throughout her life. And then one time, I lived up here in Sonoma County for 26 years. She came knocking on my door up here. I mean, we still see each other. It's not like we were estranged or anything. It's just that one time I told her, I don't want to learn how to make baskets. And then she continued to teach, you know, whomever. Continue to do her language, do her Pomo dance group, and teach the kids how to make the regalia and sing and do that thing. But maybe, meanwhile, I was up here in Sonoma County raising my kids and, you know, working and, you know, doing my thing. And she was here in Sonoma County teaching Dry Creek how to make baskets. And then she came knocking on my door, and I was surprised. I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing here? And she said, oh, we have a basket class every Tuesday or Thursday or something like that. And she said, you guys should come. And so I was like, oh, awesome. And so I was 39 years old when I got back to basket weaving.
Wow.
Yeah, so I took to it. I loved it. And like you said, Nelson Mandela's quote, you don't know what's missing until somebody gives it to you. And you're like, wow, this makes me whole now. Now I know all this time what has been missing, what's been not in my life that needs to be in my life. So I feel like that's going on at the school too, that students may not want to learn their language, but having a class like this and identifying specifically in this classroom as a Native person and revitalizing your culture, it's healing not just for them, but for their families and for the community, just to know that that's going on, that it's available now. And a lot of elders didn't get that opportunity, and the elders that are alive never thought it would happen, including me. Like I said, I'm like just excited and just over. The emotions are just so full all the time that I'm just so happy to be there and be with them, and you know, be teaching this and having so many allies at the high school, just supportive of it and just loving that it's there too. I mean, it's a big coup for Ukiah Unified School District to have that.
Right.
I know that,
Right.
but they're very honestly supportive of the program, and the classroom is actually open to all students. So you can take Spanish, you can take French, or you can take Northern Pomo language. So I do have some non-native students in my classroom too, and it's amazing to have them because sometimes they're really some of the best students.
Right.
I mean, some people want to learn language, being linguists. So this is a really good opportunity to get into that field too.
Right. So I know that Pomos in general are known worldwide as some of the best basket weavers in the world. Would you comment on some of the uses historically that we used baskets for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always heard that my whole life, that Pomo people are the best basket weavers in the whole world. We have certain stitches, and we do things a certain way, and our baskets were made for cooking and for holding water because, 200 years ago, and this is what I always think, and this is what I always tell my students, think 200 years ago. None of this stuff was here, at least 200 years ago, maybe 250 years ago. Nobody was riding in cars. If you were lucky, you had a horse. But most people were out, digging up this stuff and finding the materials around you in your area, and that's what you used, what was in your area. And the baskets, people ask me that a lot. What's this basket for? What's that basket for? And honestly, a basket can be used for whatever you need it to. If you need a basket to carry wood, you made it. If you need a basket to go fishing with, then you made it, or catch a bird, or hold a baby.
Right.
That's what you made the basket for. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're multifunctional. Because a lot of the baskets, they call them utility baskets or burden baskets, were made right on the spot. If you were going to go gather some acorn or some berries for later that day, then you can make a basket, and that basket could be a throwaway, and it would just decompose right there.
Wow.
Yeah, there's lots of different kinds of baskets too, though. Besides the ones that we're really known for, I believe that you're talking about is the coil baskets. Those are made with sedge root or white root, and we have to go out and dig those every season because you want them to dry. And for me, and I just can speak for myself, I try to let them dry for a year. I let them sit for a year in a special spot, that's dry and dark, so it won't mold, so it'll stay good. And then the next year I can use it for a basket. So every year I have a turnover where I have my willow that's been dried, or I have my white root that's been dried, or my gray willow, or my red bud that I use for basket weaving. So, a basket weaver has a lot of sticks around them at all times.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember my mom wasn't a basket weaver, but she definitely kept a willow close by when I got out of hand. So,
it's really healing to have these plants around you too. For some reason, I know the reason, but people forgot that we're spiritual people. So even though you're not brought up in the culture, maybe you live off the reservation, which is fine. You go to school and, learn English and learn history and, go to work, at, a place, like over here we have Oliver's or a lawyer or, whatever, you're a professional. We're still spiritual people. We're still connected to the land. And even if you can't see that we have that deed that has our name and on that deed, this is still our land. Our roots are still here, and you can't see those roots, but they're still growing and connecting us to the land. And I honestly feel that because when I even here, I feel connected to the land, and I think the land is really happy to see us revitalizing, bringing back our songs and the dance that you see over here. It's just a healing for the land, too, because the land is sick and hurting, too, from everything that the industrialization has done to it. And we're part of that, too, because we have assimilated a lot.
Absolutely.
And I would love for people to try acorn mush and try seaweed and and try some of these wild foods that are growing. A lot of the plants that are out here, indigenous plants, are edible and are better for us than what we can buy at Oliver's.
Right.
And I believe a lot of non-natives are realizing that even before our own people do. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are getting back to acorn flour to cook with and to eat, or lean meat and fish.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've noticed is there's like two thoughts, right? There's the colonial thought and indigenous thought, and what I mean by that in relation to the land, to kind of piggyback off what you brought up, is that colonizers look at the land as they take ownership, like the land belongs to us, right? Whereas indigenous peoples always believe that we belong to the land. And when you start from those 2 points, by the time you end at the end result, you're polar opposites. And it starts at that. It starts with the view of the land, right? Because the land was here before we were here, and it's going to be here afterwards, right? So it takes care of us. We want to be good stewards of the land and treat it in an honorable and good way. And sometimes, other people groups have lost that way, lost that vision, lost that type of care for the land. So I think what you said is 100% accurate. You know, the land is sick, and we like you said, modern natives, we have a responsibility in that because we have assimilated, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to not drive places. You know, we want to go visit our relatives over by the coast or in the valley or Southern California. It's hard to, think about walking that far when our ancestors probably did that periodically. But
we can't jump in a Thule boat and ride the Russian River up to Ukiah. We got to hit that 101.
Yeah. So it is hard, but I feel like, when you think about that stuff, climate change and healing the land and being good stewards of the land, just think about your own world. Think about the circle that you live in right here. What can I do? Well, I can eat less cows. I can eat less pigs, and dairy is not good for Native people. We can't historically digest that. We can't metastasize that, the things that cows have in it. It's not our foods. We're the diet that we're used to, and again, this is like 200 years. That's not very long. My grandmother, my dad, if he was alive, he would be in his 90s. But my grandmother, his mother, was alive when I was a kid. She was around to see the first white person. I mean, can you imagine being that old,
right? That
long ago, that I see this white person for the very first time. I've never seen a Masan before. And a Masan is a Northern Pomo word that people nowadays think means a white person. And it means like something strange. I've never seen this thing before. I don't know what it is. And so they came up with this word, Masan, something I've never seen before. That's what it means. But that my grandmother was alive when I was a kid. So this is not that far back in history that this person seen a white person for the very first time. And, that's not to say that, what we're doing today is not beneficial for us. We somewhat do have to assimilate because, in order to survive, we have to live in houses.
Right.
And like I said, we have to drive cars, and our cars need gas. But in our own little world, we can take some steps, like eating more plant-based, being loving to each other. I mean, and helping to raise, your neighbor's kids. Right. Because our band of Indians used to do that. Band of natives, I should say, not Indians. Used to be more. This is not just my kids are my family, but my neighbors are my family, and your kids are my family, and I'm gonna love you and take care of you just like I would my own. And some families are definitely like that, but if we could see more of that. All of these things are things that we could get back to right in our own little world.
Right, absolutely. Okay, in closing, I would like to end this by asking you about an historical event that happened yesterday. I don't think it's ever been done, and I would like for you to go ahead and comment on that and give us your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yes, a very awesome thing happened yesterday. Uncle Dave Smith was honored with a park. And you're right, not very many indigenous people or native people in this area or any area have had a public place named after them. And it's definitely a long time coming. In the old days, in the old way, we didn't name places, cities, or streets or mountains after ourselves. That's a more modern thing to do. It's a colonizer or a white settler thing to do, to name things after yourselves or a person. What we did was name things after a description. So imagine like you're driving around and you need directions. So the indigenous place names were describing where they were.
Right.
So you didn't see a lot of that, but to have somebody like Uncle Dave Smith honored in such a way it just makes so much sense, because Uncle Dave, he's not only just been around for a long time, he did so much for so many people. He is an icon and, just a amazing Native man. When I was a little kid, he would come to our reservation. My stepdad, Blake Smith, is his nephew, and they would come and party. They loved to dance and they loved music, and I feel like that's where I got my love of that similar music. They used to listen to the Rolling Stones and Santana and War and all this really good music.
All the good stuff.
All the good, really good stuff that people listen to now, and just come there and have a really good time. And what amazed me about him was that even when he was doing that, he still kept his culture. I mean, he still knew that he was a Native man. He was a dancer and a singer, and he knew how to make all this regalia. And he would be teaching that, later in life. And that's how I learned how to make my woman's top knot, was from Uncle Dave. And those are just memories for me that I'll just keep forever. And to me, that's really personal, because it just, I remember them being so happy.
Right.
Just so happy and, just having a good time and loving life. And he kept his culture, and I remember him saying, this culture is going to go on for another 100 years. And he said that because he was one of the first, if not the first, to let the little kids dance. And that wasn't happening traditionally. The little kids didn't dance. It was just the adults.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the little kids are our future, though. They're the ones that are going to carry this on. And I remember him saying that all the time. And he was just a funny person, too. He was always joking, and he was a person you want to be around a lot. So I haven't been to the park yet, but I am so grateful that this happened, and that the city of Willits, the county of Sonoma County, is the first to do something like that. And it's very local to us, and we can all go there and enjoy that and know that it's named after a person who's deserving. He did so much for so many people, and he was so inclusive of all Pomo people. I mean, he never turned anybody away. If you wanted to dance with him, everybody wanted to dance with Uncle Dave.
Right.
I remember being out at Yakeyama, and he wasn't in his regalia, but he came out and danced, and I was like, oh my God, I'm dancing with Uncle Dave Smith. Oh my God, this is awesome.
Yeah. No, it was significant. It was a big thing, and he was a performer, man.
Yeah.
And he brought life, I remember in junior high, him and his dancers would come and during the school assembly, and I remember just watching and being fascinated by the movements and the rhythm, and I felt that connection even back then, and it wasn't, I don't know, maybe I wasn't aware of it, but it wasn't as prominent as it is today. Back in the 80s when I was in middle school, you know, it was like, oh, okay, we're going to have assembly and this guy's coming. And I knew who he was, but I never really seen him perform and be on the stage and you know, and have everybody in rapt attention, you know, and he commanded the stage. His voice was strong, and, you know, he's somebody that will definitely be missed. And I'm ecstatic as well as you are that the town of Windsor had honored him in that way. And it's something that's going to be here forever. And I know personally a few people that he has passed down his songs and teachings, and he has a grip of daughters that are carrying on his legacy and his tradition. And
yeah, he's a very dynamic person. And but now we're lucky he's our ancestor now, and around the sacred spirit fire with all the other dancers singing and getting together. Ul ho mala kale. Yaja Yamainam U Pili Moon. That means that he is around the spirit fire now, the sacred spirit fire now, with the other ancestors. Oh.
All right. Any closing thoughts, Buffy? This has been amazing. This has been great.
Well, I'm really happy to be here today. My nephews, Trenton and Dylan here, were an amazing part of this. I love them so much. And I see a lot of familiar faces here today at this first gathering of its kind. And I love to see the community come out and see that we're still here. This is bringing awareness. And the people that you see that are non-native coming and seeing this stuff, they're our allies, and I believe that they want to help with the healing too. And sometimes it's there's a disconnect, and you don't know how to articulate that or communicate that with other people. But I believe we have a lot more allies than we ever did before, and that's why you do see that this is more prominent. There's a lot more awareness, and we're out here more and trying to revitalize our culture and language in basket weaving and our food and medicine knowledge.
Well, thank you so much, Buffy. I appreciate you stopping by at the Boxcar Joe Show and sharing your thoughts and your good medicine with us. And with that, a big O for Buffy.